Episode 1. The drowned Elias was a man of books and shadows, his days spent buried in the annals of history, his nights haunted by dreams of the afterlife. As a historian, he was drawn to the mysteries of death, fascinated by the journey of souls beyond the mortal realm. His obsession led him to delve into forgotten texts and ancient artifacts, seeking glimpses of what lay beyond. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through a dusty old bookstore, Elias stumbled upon an ancient coin nestled among a pile of weathered tomes. Its surface was worn, but the intricate etchings spoke of a time long past. Elias's heart quickened as he recognized the symbol, a boatman ferrying souls across a dark river, Charon, the ferryman of the dead. Without hesitation, Elias purchased the coin, feeling a strange connection to it. That night, as he lay in bed, the coin clutched tightly in his hand, he drifted into a fitful sleep. In his dreams, he found himself standing on the banks of a river shrouded in mist. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the sound of lapping water echoed in the stillness. Across the river, he could see a figure cloaked in shadow, beckoning to him from the other side. Elias approached cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. "Who are you?" he called out, his voice barely a whisper. The figure turned, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. "I am Charon," it replied, its voice like the rustle of leaves in the wind. "The ferryman of the dead." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. "Why have you come for me?" he asked, his voice trembling. Charon raised a skeletal hand, pointing to the coin clutched in Elias's palm. "You hold the key," it said, "the key to unlocking the secrets of the afterlife." With a start, Elias awoke, drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. The room was bathed in darkness, the only sound the steady rhythm of rain against the window pane. For days, Elias couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered from his dream. The coin seemed to weigh heavy in his pocket, its presence a constant reminder of the mysteries it held. Night after night, Elias suffered nightmares of restless souls pleading for passage across the river Styx. Their cries echoed in his ears, driving him to the brink of madness. Determined to uncover the truth, Elias threw himself into his research with renewed fervor. He combed through ancient texts and obscure manuscripts, searching for any mention of Charon and the afterlife. And then, one day, he found it, a passage hidden within the pages of an ancient tome, written in a language long forgotten. With trembling hands, Elias translated the words, his heart pounding with anticipation. The ferryman waits at the river's edge, his boat a vessel for the souls of the departed. To unlock the secrets of the afterlife, one must offer payment, a coin of ancient origin, imbued with the power to guide the dead to their final resting place. Elias's breath caught in his throat as he read the words. Could it be true? Could the coin he held in his hand truly be the key to unlocking the mysteries of the afterlife? With newfound determination, Elias set out to uncover the truth. He would journey to the river's edge, confront Charon himself, and uncover the secrets that lay beyond the veil of death. But as he ventured deeper into the darkness, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that he was treading on dangerous ground. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and the whispers of restless souls grew louder with each step he took. And somewhere, in the depths of the night, Charon waited, his skeletal hand outstretched, ready to ferry Elias across the river Styx and into the unknown. Episode 2. The Toll. Elias's obsession with the ancient coin consumed him. Night after night he delved deeper into his research, unraveling the mysteries of Charon and the river Styx. But with each revelation, his fascination turned to dread, as he realized the true purpose of the coin he held in his hand. It was Charon's toll, a payment for passage across the river of the dead. And Elias knew that he held the power to unlock the gateway to the afterlife. Haunted by visions of restless souls and driven by morbid curiosity, Elias made a fateful decision. One moonlit night, under the cover of darkness, he ventured to a nearby river, the coin clutched tightly in his palm. The air was heavy with anticipation as Elias stood on the banks of the river Styx, its waters black as night. With a trembling hand, he raised the coin above the swirling currents and hesitated for a moment, his heart pounding in his chest. Then, with a sudden surge of resolve, Elias cast the coin into the depths below. It disappeared beneath the surface with a soft splash, swallowed by the darkness of the river. For a moment, all was silent. But then, a low rumble filled the air, like distant thunder rolling across the sky. The water churned and roiled, as if stirred by some unseen force. Elias watched in horror as a figure emerged from the depths, a shadowy form, cloaked in darkness, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. It was Charon, the ferryman of the dead, come to claim his toll. A sense of dread washed over Elias as Charon approached, his bony hand outstretched. "You have paid the toll," he intoned, his voice like the whisper of the wind through the trees. "Now, you must face the consequences." With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Elias realized the gravity of his mistake. He had unlocked the gateway to the afterlife, but at what cost? The souls of the dead would now be free to roam the mortal realm, their restless spirits unleashed upon the world. As Charon faded back into the darkness of the river Styx, Elias was left alone with his thoughts, haunted by the knowledge of what he had unleashed. In his quest for understanding, he had unleashed forces beyond his control, and now he would have to face the consequences of his actions. With a heavy heart, Elias turned and made his way back home, knowing that his journey was far from over. The river Styx had claimed its toll, and Elias could only pray that he would find a way to atone for his sins before it was too late. Episode 3. The Whispers. From the moment Elias cast the coin into the river Styx, a shadow seemed to fall over his life. Strange whispers followed him wherever he went, echoing in the depths of his mind like distant echoes from the underworld. Shadows flickered at the corners of his vision, and chilling voices called out his name in the dead of night. At first, Elias tried to dismiss the whispers as figments of his imagination, a side effect of his obsession with the afterlife. But as the days turned into weeks, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they seemed to consume his every waking moment. Paranoia gnawed at Elias's mind, twisting his thoughts and clouding his judgment. He became convinced that the dead were after him, their restless spirits seeking vengeance for his trespass into the realm of the afterlife. Sleep became an elusive luxury for Elias, haunted as he was by nightmares of shadowy figures and ghostly apparitions. The line between reality and illusion blurred, and he found himself questioning his own sanity. Desperate for answers, Elias returned to his research, scouring ancient texts and forbidden manuscripts for any clue that might explain the strange phenomena plaguing him. But the more he searched, the deeper he descended into madness, the whispers growing louder with each passing day. One night, as Elias sat alone in his dimly lit study, surrounded by stacks of dusty books and flickering candlelight, he heard a voice, a cold, rasping whisper that sent shivers down his spine. "Elias," it murmured, its tone dripping with malice. "Elias, you cannot escape us. We are always watching, always waiting." Elias's heart pounded in his chest as he scanned the room, searching for the source of the voice. But there was nothing, only the oppressive silence of the empty room. With a trembling hand, Elias reached for the coin he had thrown into the river Styx, his fingers closing around its smooth surface. He had thought to rid himself of its curse, but now he realized that it was the source of his torment, a tether binding him to the realm of the dead. In a sudden surge of desperation, Elias made a decision. He would return to the river Styx, confront Charon once more, and beg for forgiveness. Perhaps then he could rid himself of the whispers that haunted him and find peace at last. But as he stepped out into the darkness of the night, the whispers grew louder, their icy fingers tightening around his throat, and Elias knew that the journey ahead would not be an easy one, for the dead never truly rest, and the shadows of the past can never be escaped. Episode 4. The Ferryman's Mark. As Elias ventured once more towards the river Styx, the whispers grew louder, their chilling voices echoing in his ears like a relentless cacophony. The weight of his actions bore down upon him, his steps heavy with dread as he approached the dark waters, where Charon, the ferryman of the dead, awaited. The air was thick with anticipation as Elias stood on the riverbank, the moon casting a pale glow upon the swirling currents below. With a trembling hand, he reached out towards the water, his pulse quickening with each passing moment. And then, from the depths of the river Styx, a figure emerged, a shadowy form cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It was Charon, the ferryman, his skeletal hand outstretched, beckoning Elias forth. With a deep breath, Elias stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "Charon," he called out, his voice barely above a whisper, "I have come to beg for forgiveness, to undo the harm I have wrought." Charon regarded him with cold, unblinking eyes, his gaze piercing through to Elias's very soul. "Forgiveness is not easily granted," he intoned, his voice like the mournful wail of the wind. "You have trespassed into the realm of the dead, and the price must be paid." Elias's breath caught in his throat as Charon raised a ghostly hand, cold and skeletal, and pressed it against Elias's wrist. With a searing pain, he felt the sensation of burning flesh as a sigil was branded upon his skin, a mark of his pact with the ferryman of the dead. The whispers intensified, swirling around Elias like a vortex of torment. "Your soul is forfeit," they hissed, their voices dripping with malice. "You have stolen passage across the river Styx, and now you must pay the price." Fear gripped Elias's heart as he realized the gravity of his situation. The whispers demanded his soul as payment for the stolen passage, and there was no escaping their relentless grasp. With a trembling hand, Elias reached for the coin he had thrown into the river Styx, its surface cool against his palm. In a desperate bid for redemption, he offered it up to Charon, his voice quivering with desperation. "Take it," he pleaded, his eyes pleading for mercy. "Take the coin and release me from this curse. I beg of you, ferryman, grant me reprieve from the whispers that torment my soul." Charon regarded Elias with an inscrutable gaze, his skeletal hand closing around the coin, and then, with a solemn nod, he vanished into the depths of the river Styx, leaving Elias alone on the riverbank once more. For a moment, all was still, the whispers silenced, the weight of his burden lifted, and as Elias watched the dark waters of the river Styx, he knew that his journey was far from over, but perhaps, just perhaps, there was hope for redemption yet. Episode 5. The harrowing haunted by the events at the river Styx, Elias sought solace in the wisdom of those who delved into the occult, hoping to find answers to the nightmare that had become his reality. He sought out an expert, a recluse rumored to possess knowledge beyond the mortal realm. The expert's abode was a dilapidated mansion hidden deep within the woods, its walls adorned with symbols of ancient power. As Elias entered the dimly lit study, he felt a shiver run down his spine, sensing the weight of centuries of secrets that hung heavy in the air. The occultist, a figure cloaked in shadow, regarded Elias with an inscrutable gaze. "You seek answers," they intoned, their voice a low rumble that seemed to echo from the depths of the abyss. "But be warned, for the truth you seek may be more terrifying than you can imagine." Elias nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. "I must know," he said, his voice trembling with desperation. "What have I unleashed, and how can I undo the harm I have wrought?" The occultist's eyes glinted in the dim light as they spoke, revealing a horrifying truth that sent a chill down Elias's spine. "The coin you possessed was no mere trinket," the occultist explained, their voice grave. "It was a vessel, a prison for a benevolent spirit that guarded the barrier between life and death. By casting it into the river Styx, you have unleashed chaos upon the world, allowing vengeful spirits to cross freely into the realm of the living." Elias's blood ran cold as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. The whispers, the shadows, the nightmares, they were all manifestations of the restless spirits he had set free, their anger and torment unleashed upon the world. Despair washed over Elias as he realized the enormity of his actions. "Is there nothing I can do?" he pleaded, his voice choked with emotion. The occultist regarded him with a somber expression. "There is one way," they said, their voice barely above a whisper, "but it comes at a great cost." Elias listened intently as the occultist outlined a plan, a ritual that would bind the vengeful spirits and restore the barrier between life and death. But the price of such a ritual was steep, a sacrifice that would require Elias to give up everything he held dear. With a heavy heart, Elias knew what he must do. He would confront the spirits he had unleashed, face the consequences of his actions, and make whatever sacrifice was necessary to set things right. But as he left the occultist's mansion and ventured once more into the darkness, Elias couldn't shake the feeling of dread that clung to him like a shroud, for the road ahead would be fraught with danger, and the stakes could not be higher. With each step he took, Elias knew that he was walking a path from which there could be no turning back, a harrowing journey into the heart of darkness, where the fate of the living and the dead would hang in the balance. Episode 6. The Horde. As Elias returned to the town from the occultist's mansion, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. The whispers that had plagued him now seemed to echo throughout the streets, their icy fingers tightening around the hearts of the townsfolk. It was not long before the effects of Elias's actions became apparent. Restless spirits, unleashed from their eternal slumber, descended upon the town like a horde of vengeful specters. Houses became haunted, their walls echoing with the cries of the dead. Nightmares bled into reality, twisting the fabric of the world into a realm of darkness and despair. At first, Elias was consumed by fear, his heart gripped by the terror of the supernatural forces he had unleashed. But as he witnessed the suffering of those around him, he felt a flicker of responsibility, an ember of courage burning bright amidst the darkness. Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, Elias set out to confront the spirits that haunted the town, determined to make amends for his grave mistake. Armed with the knowledge he had gleaned from the occultist, he sought to find a way to bind the vengeful spirits and restore peace to the town once more. But as he ventured into the heart of the darkness that had engulfed the town, Elias knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The spirits he had unleashed were powerful and relentless, their anger and torment fueling their insatiable thirst for vengeance. Yet despite the odds stacked against him, Elias pressed on, his resolve unwavering in the face of adversity. For he knew that the fate of the town, and perhaps even the world, rested in his hands. And as he stood on the precipice of the abyss, ready to confront the horrors that lurked within, Elias vowed to do whatever it took to right the wrongs he had committed, to banish the darkness and restore light to a world consumed by... Episode 7. Facing the Ferryman. With determination coursing through his veins, Elias delved into the depths of his knowledge, seeking the means to confront Karen, the ferryman whose wrath he had unwittingly incurred. Armed with newfound courage and the guidance of the occultist, he prepared to perform a ritual to summon the spectral guardian of the river Styx. Under the veil of night, Elias ventured to the riverbank once more, the dark waters whispering ancient secrets as he began the incantations that would call forth Karen. The air grew heavy with anticipation, the moon casting an eerie glow upon the scene as Elias's voice rose in a solemn chant. And then, from the swirling mists of the river Styx, a figure emerged, a terrifying skeletal form cloaked in shadow and mist, his eyes burning with an otherworldly light. It was Karen, the ferryman of the dead, his presence filling the air with an aura of dread. Elias stood his ground, his heart pounding in his chest as he faced the spectral figure before him. "Karen," he called out, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at his insides. "I have come to make amends, to undo the harm I have wrought." The ferryman regarded him with cold, unblinking eyes, his skeletal hand outstretched in a silent demand for payment. "You have trespassed into the realm of the dead," he intoned, his voice like the tolling of a funeral bell. "And now you must pay the price." Elias swallowed hard, his resolve wavering for a moment before steeling himself once more. "I offer myself," he declared, his voice unwavering. "Take my soul as payment for the chaos I have unleashed." A chill wind swept through the air as Karen considered Elias's offer, his gaze piercing through to the very core of his being. And then, with a solemn nod, he reached out with his ghostly hand, branding Elias's wrist with a sigil, the mark of his pact with the ferryman of the dead. But as the sigil seared into Elias's flesh, he felt a surge of determination wash over him, a defiance born from the depths of his soul. "I will not be cowed by fear," he declared, his voice echoing across the river Styx. "I will undo the harm I have caused, no matter the cost." Karen regarded him with a mixture of awe and respect, his eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. "You possess a courage few mortals possess," he intoned, his voice tinged with reverence. "Go forth, Elias, and may your bravery be your guide in the darkness that lies ahead." With a nod of gratitude, Elias watched as Karen faded back into the mists of the river Styx, leaving him alone once more on the riverbank. And as he gazed out into the darkness, Elias knew that his journey was far from over, but with courage as his companion, he would face whatever trials lay ahead, determined to set things right and restore balance to a world. Episode 8. The Bargain. Deception. Desperation clawed at Elias's heart as he surveyed the chaos that had engulfed his town, haunted by the spirits he had unleashed. With each passing day, the vengeful specters grew bolder, their wrath threatening to consume everything in their path. And yet, amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope burned bright, a daring plan taking shape in Elias's mind. Gathering his courage, Elias returned to the river Styx once more, where Karen, the ferryman of the dead, awaited. With a deep breath he approached the spectral figure, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at his insides. "Karen," he began, his words measured and deliberate, "I have come to propose a bargain, one that will benefit us both." The ferryman regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and amusement, his skeletal features twisted into a semblance of a smile. "A bargain, you say?" he mused, his voice echoing across the river Styx. "I am intrigued, mortal. Speak your terms." Elias's heart pounded in his chest as he laid out his proposal, a daring gambit born from desperation and cunning. "I offer myself as your apprentice," he declared, his voice unwavering. "I will become the new ferryman of the dead, ferrying souls across the river Styx in exchange for lifting the curse that plagues my town." Karen's eyes gleamed with amusement at the audacity of Elias's offer, his skeletal form towering over him like a specter of death. "You would offer yourself to the service of the dead?" he intoned, his voice tinged with amusement. "Such bravery, such audacity. Very well, mortal, I accept your offer." A surge of relief washed over Elias as Karen agreed to his proposal, his heart buoyed by the prospect of salvation for his town. But as he clasped hands with the ferryman, sealing their pact, a cold shiver ran down his spine, a nagging feeling of unease that lingered in the depths of his soul. For Elias knew that in striking a deal with Karen, he had entered into a dangerous game of deception, a game where the stakes were higher than he could have ever imagined. And as he prepared to take on the mantle of the ferryman of the dead, he vowed to tread carefully, lest he become ensnared in a web of darkness from which there could be no escape. Episode 9. Apprentice of Death. Shocking. Elias's world shifted as he embarked on his apprenticeship under Karen, the ferryman of the dead. Each day he traversed the dark waters of the river Styx, witnessing firsthand the true despair that awaited souls on the journey to the afterlife. The weight of their anguish pressed upon him like a suffocating shroud, each wail of torment etching itself into his very soul. Under Karen's tutelage, Elias learned the grim realities of death, the inevitability of mortality, the merciless passage of time, and the relentless march of souls towards their final judgment. He watched as the specters of the dead clung to the shores of the river Styx, their faces twisted in agony as they pleaded for salvation that would never come. But amidst the darkness, a spark of defiance burned bright within Elias's heart. He had not forgotten his true purpose, to find a way to break the bargain he had struck with Karen, to free himself from the shackles of servitude and restore balance to the world he had unwittingly thrown into chaos. In the shadows of the night, Elias plotted and schemed, his mind racing with thoughts of rebellion and defiance. He sought out forbidden knowledge, delving into ancient tomes and whispered secrets, searching for the key that would unlock the chains that bound him to Karen's service. But with each passing day, Elias's sense of unease grew, a gnawing doubt that lingered in the depths of his soul. For he knew that Karen was no mere ferryman, but a force of darkness that wielded power beyond mortal comprehension, a force that would stop at nothing to maintain control over the souls that passed through his realm. And as Elias looked out upon the river Styx, its waters dark and foreboding, he knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. But he also knew that he could not turn back, that he must continue to fight, to resist, to defy the darkness that threatened to consume him whole. For he was Elias, apprentice of death, and he would not rest until he had broken free from the chains that bound him and restored light to a world drowning in shadow. Episode 10. Rebellion Finale. In the depths of his despair, Elias stumbled upon a revelation that shook him to his core, a hidden truth buried within the annals of time. The ancient coin he had thrown into the river Styx was not meant for Karen. It was a key to permanently close the gateway between realms, sealing off the passage between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. As the weight of this realization settled upon him, Elias knew what he must do. With a surge of determination, he prepared for a harrowing escape attempt, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the sacrifice that lay ahead. Under the cover of darkness, Elias ventured once more to the river Styx, where Karen awaited, his skeletal form cloaked in shadow. With trembling hands, Elias raised the coin high above the swirling currents, his resolve steeling as he prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. And then, with a cry of defiance, Elias threw the coin into the river Styx, its surface disappearing beneath the dark waters with a final splash. For a moment, all was still, a deafening silence that hung heavy in the air. And then, with a sudden ear-splitting roar, the gateway between realms slammed shut, sealing off the passage between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The river Styx churned and roiled, its waters thrashing against the barrier that now separated the two worlds. But as the screams of trapped spirits echoed out, a chilling truth dawned upon Elias, a truth that sent a shiver down his spine. In his desperate bid to save others, he had become the very entity he feared. A ferryman of the dead, forever bound to the river Styx and the souls that dwelled within. As he looked out upon the swirling waters, Elias knew that his fate was sealed, that he would spend eternity ferrying the souls of the departed across the river Styx, a grim reminder of the consequences of his actions. But amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope burned bright within Elias's heart. For though he may be bound to the river Styx for all eternity, he had found redemption in his sacrifice, a redemption that would echo throughout the ages, a beacon of light in a world consumed by darkness. And as he stood upon the shores of the river Styx, Elias vowed to continue his eternal vigil, to guide the souls of the departed to their final rest, and to ensure that his sacrifice was not in vain.